An all-new Dr. Phil. What happened after Lindsie left Chrisley Knows Best?
Todd tweeted gloves off. As a father, I can't imagine threatening my child.
Now,
is there a tape of you being intimate with someone else?
new details
I started receiving texts. Could he meet with me?
What happened during that meeting?
and new revelations.
Did you want to bring Chrisley Knows Best down in flames? Today, the drama becomes a bit too real for one reality show family. Todd Chrisley rose to fame as the star of the hit USA show Chrisley Knows Best. Millions of fans fell in love with the tough-talking patriarch who reigns with an iron fist over his seemingly picture-perfect family. But after 7 seasons on the air, that perfect image started to crack. On August 13th, Todd and his wife, Julie Chrisley, were indicted on charges of tax evasion and other financial crimes. Then, Todd's oldest daughter, Lindsie, came forward with some shocking allegations. She filed a police report accusing her family of the unthinkable. She claims her father threatened to release a sex tape of her if she didn't agree to lie for him. Take a look.
The Chrisley family's crisis as Todd and Julie Chrisley face up to 30 years in jail for tax fraud.
A 12-count federal indictment accuses Todd and Julie Chrisley of tax evasion, wire fraud, and the use of their production company to hide their reality TV income.
The disturbing new drama surrounding the stars of Chrisley Knows Best. Now there's a family war going on. Just as the parents face indictment for tax evasion, Todd's daughter Lindsie is accusing her father of spreading horrible stories about her.
Last month, the 29-year-old filed a report with Georgia police.
She's accusing her father, Todd, and brother Chase of trying to blackmail her. She filed this police report saying they wanted her to lie about an incident, and if she refused to do so, they were going to release the sex tape involving her. Lindsie says her father is trying to deflect attention from his and his wife's indictments last week for tax evasion.
Todd and Julie are free on $100,000 unsecured bond. They also had to surrender their passports in order to continue filming their show.
Family will stick together and we'll walk this road because we know that the good Lord will hold our hand and take us through.
Today, we're going inside the twisted accusations that have torn this reality show family apart. In a daytime exclusive, Lindsie Chrisley breaks her silence. Did her father threaten her with the ultimate betrayal? It's a claim that Todd has vehemently denied. But with battle lines being drawn, does Todd Chrisley really know best? His daughter Lindsie says no. Here's what she had to say. Your family became famous with what really turned out to be a hit show on USA, which was Chrisley Knows Best, right?
Yes.
What was that like for you?
I didn't talk to my parents through college, and then we kind of started reestablishing. Then a reality show came out of it.
Why were you not talking to them before?
I was 18 years old, and my parents wanted me to stay at a local school so that they could kind of watch after me. And I said when I left high school, I'm not going to have a boyfriend. I'm just going to live college life single, hang out with girls. And then I went to school and met my now husband the second month of school. So then there was an issue with my dad didn't like my boyfriend at the time, and so I was hell-bent that I was going to date him, and I thought he was the one, and so I was willing to do whatever to keep him.
And that was a big plot line on the show, right? Yeah.
Tonight we're having dinner with the whole family.
Well, we have Lindsay's husband coming too. I don't feel that Will puts forth any effort to get to know our family. I think that he made that decision when he chose to marry our daughter without seeking our permission. Trying to have a conversation with my son-in-law is like watching paint dry. How's your job going?
It's going.
It's going. I mean, Jesus, give me something to work with.
Huh. Pretty typical?
Yes.
How did it feel that he didn't support your relationship, your marriage? Was it frustration, or did you just kind of take it in stride?
I felt like I took it in stride at the time, but now looking back on it, I think it bothered me a lot more than I let on.
Yeah.
And I think it caused a lot of problems that I didn't realize that I had until now.
Well, at some point, you became estranged and stopped appearing on the hit show. Was that why you stopped appearing, or were those two things related or not related?
Not related.
They were not related?
No.
So tell me how the two things occurred.
That situation, what we just watched, my husband stopped. I mean, I think he only filmed maybe a couple of scenes like for the show totally. So that didn't have anything to do with it. I think that they just came to a meeting of the minds of, I don't like you and you don't like me, so we're just not gonna communicate or be around each other. And I was okay with that because I loved Will, but I also wanted to be around my dad because he's my dad. So that didn't have anything to do with it. There was an altercation that happened after the camera shut down.
Yeah. This was with your stepmother.
Yes. From that, I felt like the environment was volatile and I didn't want to be around it. I just felt like it was the best thing for my family and for my well-being.
She denies that this happened?
Yes.
Well, what do you say happened that she says didn't happen?
It was our last day of filming. I had gathered up all of my things and she'd come up the staircase in the front of the house and said that I woke up my niece. And I didn't. She was still awake, so I told her that I didn't wake her up. Maybe I was being loud. You know, I was getting my stuff. And I went downstairs and confronted her about it and said that, you know, she needed to watch the way that she talked to people, and it wasn't necessarily about what she said, but how she said it. And the altercation escalated, and I asked her not to get in front of my face, and she did on three different occasions, and on the third time, she shoved me at my neck.
When that happened, were there people around? I mean, did people stop you guys from?
My dad was standing right behind her when it happened, and nobody got involved or tried to stop it because it happened very fast.
And did you request an investigation?
I did.
And did it help? Did it turn up anything?
To my knowledge, people couldn't talk, so
nothing came of it?
Nothing really came of it, no.
Yeah. So at that point you thought, enough's enough, you're just not going to do it anymore?
Right.
Now, on the show, she seemed to have an image or a reputation of being really sweet, and it looked like you got along perfectly on the show. Was that the truth or not the truth?
Overall, I would say it probably was more true than anything. I didn't expect what happened to happen. And I think that emotions were just high. There was things going on behind the scenes that I wasn't aware of at the time. And now I am aware of those things legally. So I think that, you know, people do crazy things when they get upset.
What do you now know was going on behind the scenes?
I believe that they had knowledge then that there was an investigation going on, which now has led to their federal indictment.
So they knew they were being looked at that point, so there was maybe a lot of pressure at that stage of the game? So did your dad and the family retaliate against you at that point?
As soon as the incident happened and there had been outside counsel brought in to do an investigation, that's where social media started getting a little bit crazy. They started using that to their advantage.
So your sister and dad tweeted at that point, right? That was the first time you saw something on social media about this alleged sex tape, right?
Yes.
And what do you remember it saying, and what was your first reaction when you thought, this is my father?
I was like, wow, I literally cannot believe that somebody would stoop that low and say those kind of things on social media and use it as a way to bully your own kid.
Was that completely out of character for him?
No.
But to go public like that, was that strange for him to do that?
No, because I think he's done it to other people. So
really?
I knew that the capabilities.
And your sister tweeted this, said, too funny. Come after me, I really don't care. Come after my mama, you're over. watch what you tell when your bed isn't clean, hashtag literally. And then Todd responded, especially since there's been more men in your bed than your husband has spent time there. Hashtag 2 bachelors, hashtag in-laws, videos, photos, let's do this. And then sometimes those that lie need to be exposed in order to stop the madness. Hashtag cheated twice, thank God for puppy cams, sue me over the truth, psycho.
To be honest, I think that's psycho.
Well, what was the purpose? What did you think the purpose of that was?
I looked back at the dates to see when those would have been tweeted. And the tweet that Savannah tweeted was actually the day before my attorney and I met with the outside counsel in regards to that investigation. So I'm going to assume that they were given information that that meeting was taking place. So that makes sense of the tweet that Savannah had tweeted, "Come after my mama."
So you think if it was the day before that meeting, do you think that was intended to deter you from having that meeting?
I think it was to let me know that they knew about it and that basically I needed to watch what I say.
And then Todd also tweeted in a quote, like mother, like daughter, once a cheater, always a cheater, once a liar, always a liar. Hashtag truth may cost you your child. It's coming out, gloves off. When you read that, what do you say to yourself?
It's so crazy because I feel like the behavior has been consistent. So I know that that's how he acts. So it wasn't as shocking for me to see it as it has been, I think, for other people to see it.
Because it is shocking. As a father, I can't imagine threatening my child. That's foreign to me. I think, like you say, it's foreign to other people more than it is to you.
Me, yeah, because I know what to expect. So it wasn't truly shocking to me.
And what was the motive behind this? Was this about the television show? Was this about the investigation or the complaint? Or was there something deeper going on?
Coming up.
He said, you met this person multiple times and there was an affair that was going on. And I said, no, that's not the truth.
Did you backdoor, secret source the federal government against your family?
We now return to a Dr. Phil daytime exclusive with reality star Lindsie Chrisley.
What was the motive behind this? Was this about the television show? Was this about the investigation or the complaint? Or was there something deeper going on here?
Every time like an article came out that was maybe negative towards them, it was always assumed that I had something to do with that.
That you were the source?
That I was the source for stuff that I didn't even know about. So I would go back and look at dates when I would see these crazy tweets come up. I'm like, there's got to be a reason for somebody to tweet something like this, unless it's just like they're in a pure state of psychosis or something.
So an article would pop up, then the tweets would follow. So they were thinking you were out talking
right
to the media, tabloids or magazine shows or whatever.
Right.
And they'd think, okay, you're the source, so we're going to try to shut you up or intimidate you in some way.
Yeah.
Did you ever pick up the phone and call them and say, what are you thinking? What are you doing? Did you ever talk to them?
No, because I felt like, and maybe I handled it wrong, but I felt like if somebody is crazy enough to go on social media and tweet something like that, what could I possibly say to that person that would change their mind?
Well, I don't know your father or your sister. Would it occur to either one of them that this is unbecoming to them?
So all the press that's been done since this, alleged sex tape came out, it's all been like put back off on me, or that I want 5 more minutes of fame, or I want this, or I want that. If that were the case, I would have stayed on the show.
You stay on the show. If you want 5 minutes of fame, why would you leave the platform?
The next statements that were made were, I was having these extramarital affairs, and then my dad listed 2 people's names, the Bachelor stars and myself, for Savannah to go and do that interview and say that we're all three collectively looking to gain 5 more minutes of fame, do they expect that we're not going to have something to say? I think it's ironic to me that Savannah would be the one that's out talking in the media, because anytime I'm good enough when she doesn't have him, but then I'm not good enough when she does.
And you left the show voluntarily. You
Yes.
wanted to leave the show because the network wanted you to stay on the show.
Yes.
Because it messed with the chemistry.
I had told my attorney, I said, if I'm not going to be on the show, I don't want them being able to write me off in some bogus way or whatever. I don't want them to be able to speak my name. So it was kind of odd. I haven't watched a single episode since I left, so I don't know what's really happened.
And how many seasons have gone on since you left?
I left in season 5, and I think that they just finished season 7.
How did you find out that your father and stepmother were going to face charges by a federal grand jury in Atlanta? And I think that was, for bank fraud, wire fraud, tax evasion?
I started receiving texts that were talking about how I needed to be able to help them, and could he meet with me. He asked me if I could meet him in Chattanooga, Tennessee. I thought maybe he's going to tell me sorry for things that have happened over the past couple of years. But when I got there, it was a completely different story.
Do you think maybe because he was in trouble that it maybe humbled him some, or that he was going to maybe...
That's exactly what I thought.
What was his attitude when you got together in a room? Where'd you meet in Chattanooga?
I met him at a barbecue place. He just looked at me and hugged me, but I could tell that his guard was up. I mean, you can tell by people's body language. I feel like he hugged me out of it being like a courtesy.
Mm-hmm. What happened during that meeting?
He told me that he was going to be indicted for, various financial crimes, and that they didn't do it. And he asked me multiple times if I had met an individual at Starbucks that he believed was part of the investigation. And I said no. And he said, no, you have. And I said, no, I haven't. And he said, you met this person multiple times at Starbucks, and there was an affair that was going on. And I said, no, that's not the truth. And I said, but while we're on the topic of lies, let's talk about the social media stuff that I've endured for the past 2 years from you and your 2 minion children. And then that's when I got the warning that Chase had incriminating evidence against me, nude photos, and had obtained this tape for $5,000. At that point, the conversation was over for me, and my attorney advised me to file the police report.
Your father told you that his PR team was going to put out a story, and the story was that you were sleeping with a government official and told him lies about your family.
Yes.
And so you turned him in because you were mad at him. So that's where the government was coming from, not from any real basis for these indictments, but it was just you having a vendetta against him.
Right.
But to make it clear to everybody, did you backdoor, secret source the federal government against your family?
Coming up.
It's extremely sad that someone is using a sex tape that doesn't even exist in order to get 5 more minutes of fame.
I think she's crazy.
What part of what she's saying is not true?
Dr. Phil's daytime exclusive with reality star Lindsie Chrisley continues.
Stars of the show Chrisley Knows Best are now out of jail after pleading not guilty to tax evasion charges and posting bond. A 12-count federal indictment accuses Todd and Julie Chrisley of tax evasion, wire fraud, and the use of their production company to hide their reality TV income from the IRS.
Family will stick together and we'll walk this road because we know that the good Lord will hold our hand and take us through.
Did you backdoor, secret source the federal government against your family?
No.
You were not a whistleblower that turned the federal government onto your family's wrongdoing?
No.
Did you want to bring Chrisley Knows Best down in flames?
No.
Did he think you would go along with this just to protect him? I mean, look, it's your father. He's getting ready. Maybe he's going to go to prison, and if you'll just kind of go along with this story, then maybe he's out of trouble.
Right, and I think it never made sense to me because what he was accusing me of didn't have anything to do with the federal side of his investigation. It had more to do with the state side of his investigation.
What was the state side that he wanted you to roll over on?
He claimed residency in Florida, and the state was saying that he lived in Georgia.
He lied about living in Florida to get a tax break as being a Florida resident? Allegedly.
Allegedly.
Yeah. So that's what he was asking you to say you lied about that.
But I didn't even say anything at all.
So he goes through this with you, and he says over and over, yes, you did, yes, you did, yes, you did. And in fact, you had an affair with this person. Mm-hmm. When you left there, it was clear to him that you weren't going for this, right?
I think, yeah, I mean, it was very clear because I said no to that, multiple times I said no, that didn't happen.
I mean, at some point he realized you're not doing it.
Right.
Is that when he threatened to expose you and do all this stuff?
He just gave me the warning that I would be careful because Chase has this, information and it wouldn't end well.
So he was just kind of a veiled threat. Mm-hmm. Management by intimidation. Better be careful.
Right.
What would he say about this if he walked in and sat down right now? How would he attempt to explain this away?
It would be my fault.
Would he say he never said this to you at the barbecue place?
Oh yeah, he said that it's never been threatened.
Oh, he's denied it already.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. He's denied it in the media. Savannah was not even a participating party to my knowledge, but yet she was very strong in her conviction that there was no tape that existed. But if you're not a participating party, how would you know it did or didn't exist?
Mm-hmm. Well, here's what Savannah said about it. We have a clip of that. Let me let you listen to this and then respond to it.
It's extremely sad that someone is using a sex tape that doesn't even exist in order to get 5 more minutes of fame. So it's sad.
So your sister's trying to get five more minutes of fame?
I mean, it is what it is. I know that my dad has never.
So there is no sex tape.
No.
Has your father ever seen his?
No. And my father it's just something like that.
That's what I'm saying. It's a little weird, right? Yeah. You know that your father would view his daughter's sex tape and then try to get money out of it.
Yeah. So no. If anything, he would try to help her because that should be something that you should be embarrassed about.
What do you think about that?
I think she's crazy because, I mean, first of all, her body language says everything to me. Maybe she was caught off guard. She's my sister, so I know when she's telling the truth or when she's not.
Yeah, you've known her a while.
Yeah. If I was in her position, I wouldn't be making the statements that she's making because she doesn't know what evidence that we possibly have to prove what she's saying is not true.
What part of what she's saying is not true?
The fact of the threats of a sex tape, possible incriminating evidence against me.
By saying that there is no sex tape and that he would not be threatening, he would be helping. Mm-hmm. If she was telling the truth, she would know that he wasn't helping, he was in fact threatening.
Right.
And you think she does know that?
I think that if I talked to her, not that I am going to or would at this point, but if I did, I think that her tune would be different.
Now, is there the possibility that there is a tape of you being intimate with someone else that was taken without your knowledge?
Coming up.
What is it that they think you know or don't know or could bring to the narrative that is so powerful that you're the focus of all of this attention? Closed captioning provided by...
We now return to a Dr. Phil daytime exclusive with reality star Lindsie Chrisley.
More bad news for the reality TV star Todd Chrisley. Todd and his wife pleaded not guilty to tax evasion and other charges in Georgia yesterday. They were released on a $100,000 bond, but now there's a report accusing Todd of extorting his own daughter, Lindsie, with a sex tape. Lindsie filed a police report claiming her father and brother threatened to release a sex tape of her if she didn't lie in her testimony about the tax situation.
Is there the possibility that there is a tape of you being intimate with someone else that was taken without your knowledge?
Possibly.
Just puppy cam
Possibly.
sort of thing? Nothing that you staged, just an encounter between two consenting adults, but there were cameras in the house, like baby monitor cameras or something?
Well, actually, literally dog cameras. So let's just say if I was hypothetically going to do this, I wouldn't use a dog camera.
Do you believe that tape exists?
From what I know, there has not been a tape that has been uncovered.
So you don't think your brother bought a tape for $5,000?
I think that it probably was a lie with intent to keep me quiet or to do whatever people wanted me to do. But I can't say that for certain.
Do you think he bought compromising pictures from a computer?
I don't believe that he has them, but I do know from evidence that he attempted to obtain them. Not my dad, but Chase.
He was trying to find some.
Right, yes.
So he was shopping for some.
Yes, he was shopping
To see
for
if somebody had something that he could use. So he's seeking leverage in some way.
Right.
Did you file police reports over these threats?
I filed police reports over the threats of the tape because I did not become knowledgeable of attempts to gain photos and incriminating evidence against me until probably about 3 or so weeks ago. What I can say is that the attempts that I have knowledge of were up until May of this year.
What is it that they think you know or don't know or could bring to the narrative that is so powerful that you're the focus of all of this attention?
I haven't quite figured that out myself, but I am flattered that they feel like I am that knowledgeable or that I have that much power.
Is it that they think you can defuse a bomb rather than what you might...
Or fuse one,
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe.
It's one of the two, right?
Yeah.
They either think you can alibi something or explain something away, and so they're trying to get you to do that, or trying to keep you from maybe filling in some blanks for the government in their case.
I wouldn't even have knowledge of as far as their indictment is concerned, because the years that were covered, most of those years, I was not even in communication with them.
Right. Do you have a dialogue with anybody in your family at this point?
I do not.
How do you feel about not having any contact with them?
At first it was hard. However, I knew what I was dealing with from the start. So I feel like when I started the show, there was an agenda there, and I think everybody was in on it, and I was stupid enough to feel like they want me, or they want to have something to do with me. And now looking back on it, I'm like, I think it was all just literally for show, and I don't think they want to have anything to do with me, and I personally don't want to have anything to do with them.
Why do they not want to have anything to do with you?
I think that my dad leads people to believe what he wants them to believe. So I'm sure that he's in their ear just like he's been in my ear.
About them?
It's like, that game, playing all sides against the middle.
Mm-hmm. Do they not see through that? Do you guys not ever think to go off by yourselves and just talk among yourselves?
I think that because Chase and Savannah left from high school and started the show, so they didn't go to college and, get a degree, so they're banking on the show. And I think with that being their financial security and knowing that he has that control, that they're not going to venture from that. And I think that speaks volumes about character.
They're watching this right
I'm
now.
sure.
I mean, you know they are.
Mm-hmm.
What do you say to them?
Coming up,
They've held you up to ridicule, they've threatened you.
For what they've done to me with this media circus, I will never forgive that. Why does it collectively take all of them to gang up on me?
Closed captioning provided by
Dr. Phil's daytime exclusive with reality star Lindsie Chrisley continues.
They're watching this right
I'm
now.
sure.
I mean, you know they are.
Mhm.
What do you say to them?
Nothing.
Nothing. You have
Nothing.
no energy, no agenda to engage them positively, negatively, nothing.
Nothing. I want them to know that this is a season of my life and that this did not make me and it did not break me.
You know, a lot of the fans of the show seem to wonder about the family's finances. Your dad, one of the storylines was he was trying to open a department store. And it seemed like the family had a lot of money, but it was unclear from where. Was this an affluent family?
No, my dad was very successful in real estate. And
So that's where the money came from.
yes, he was very successful. And I can never take that away from him, you know. Unfortunately, ended up losing it, and then the show came about.
But when you say he did well, was he worth millions, tens of millions?
I have no idea. I never have seen any type of financial documents, bank statements, nothing.
What kind of money were they making from the show?
I don't know what he was making. I know what I was making.
What were you making from the show?
$10,000 a week.
And that was less than some of the others.
Yes. It's weird because a lot of people are, you know, following this bandwagon of, you know, she wants 5 more minutes of fame, or, you know, she wants this or she wants that. I never wanted to do the show in the first place, so it was never a financial thing for me. So it was easy for me to walk away from because that was never my goal.
Do you have an agenda in terms of what you would like to see happen to your father and your stepmother over these indictments?
No. I feel like if they aren't guilty, I hope that they don't have to do any time for the crimes. And if they are, then I still hope that they don't have to do any time for the crimes because they're my parents. And I don't like them, but I love them, and I'll always love them. But for what they've done to me with this media circus, I will never forgive that.
Because they've held you up to ridicule, they've threatened you.
Right. And I've had to deal with all kinds of shaming comments. And yes, there's been some great people on social media, you know, that have reached out and sent amazing, empowering messages, you know, about toxic family and stuff. But I've also received really negative, nasty ones. And why would you do this to your family? I have no responsibility in that. And I'm not going to take responsibility for something that I didn't do. And if they felt like that they were right, and when I say they, I'm talking about my family, why does it collectively take all of them to gang up on me?
If you're called to testify, if they subpoena you in this case, if it does go to trial, and if you're asked about attempts to leverage you, to extort you, whatever adjectives they want to put on it, you're going to say exactly what happened.
Yeah, and now I'm on record here saying it, so.
Right.
Yeah.
Have you read the indictments against your father and stepmother?
I have.
And the indictments are pretty clear. Bank fraud, wire fraud, conspiracy to defraud the United States, and they're talking about claiming that they had money that they didn't have and using that to misrepresent themselves to lending institutions and people that they were doing business deals with. Do you believe that took place?
Coming up.
You've not been questioned, you've not given evidence, you've not provided documents, you've not given testimony. You've had no involvement in this whatsoever. How can this be your problem?
We now return to a Dr. Phil daytime exclusive.
The indictments are pretty clear. Bank fraud, wire fraud. Do you believe that took place?
Honestly, I've never seen my parents do anything in that regard illegally, so I can't really say if it did or if it didn't.
where's the bottom here? I mean, are you concerned that if this goes forward, that your name might wind up on documents or something somewhere that you might be implicated in some of the things they're accused of doing?
At this point, hashtag gloves off, I don't know. I feel like it is the bottom. What has happened is very scummy.
My experience has been that federal prosecutors, state prosecutors, don't bring cases they don't feel they can win. They bring slam dunk cases. Don't know, but let's assume they got all their ducks in a row before they pulled the trigger here. I cannot imagine USA giving a big hug,
Bear hug,
to this show if they've got people that have defrauded the government, lenders, landlords, people like that. That's rewarding bad behavior. If this all goes away, what happens? What happens to the family then?
Well, since they will be watching this, they're going to say that that was my agenda from the get-go because I wasn't on the show for them not to have one. I don't care if they want to stay on there and act stupid. That's on them. I don't care. I think that will be a humbling experience.
You've not been questioned, you've not given evidence, you've not provided documents, you've not given testimony. You've had no involvement in this whatsoever. How can this be your problem?
Honestly wish that they would reveal who the witnesses were. I wish they would, because it would clear the allegations against me, because it's not me.
Let's say this goes to trial and they start calling these witnesses, and the witness list comes out and you're not on it. You're not a source, you're not a witness, you didn't even give documents, you did nothing.
In fact, I was asked if I ever would testify, and I said no.
If that all comes clear, will they come to you and say, never mind?
No.
Sorry.
Never.
Never happened.
No, that will never happen. Because I would have to admit that you're wrong.
Can you live with that?
Yes.
Has this show hurt your family, helped your family, or left it where they found it? Has this show hurt your family, helped your family, or left it where they found it?
In a lot of ways, I think left it where they found it, and in some ways, I feel like it's helped me. Because even though it's been hard, I feel like in a lot of ways it's made me face a lot of things, and I'm gonna come out emotionally better from it, and I know what I need to avoid.
You know, one of the things I think is really important to embrace is realizing you don't have to react. No matter what they do, you are not compelled to react. So no matter, haters are gonna hate, lovers are gonna love, you usually can't change all that, but if you realize I don't have to react. Every time they poke, I don't have to react. Old sayings get to be old sayings because they're profound, and that old saying that the best revenge is living well. Just live well, man. Just press on. Thanks for talking about this. I really appreciate it. The Georgia Department of Revenue has settled the $2.1 million tax evasion charge against Todd and Julie Chrisley. But the Chrisleys' legal woes are not over. A federal indictment on the comparable charge is still pending. In a press release, Todd Chrisley said, "Julie and I knew all along that we had done nothing wrong, and that when all the facts came out, we would be fine. We're just glad the Department of Revenue was willing to keep an open mind and look at all the evidence." For more information, go to drphil.com. Thanks for watching.